Twitch and Facebook and Periscope. YouTube. Hello, YouTube. This is Juggling Lessons. I am here with Reed Nice Wonder and Kimberly and Alex and our guest, Faisal.
Hello.
Tell me something you believe, something that's true in the world.
I believe religion causes more problems than it solves.
Okay, religion causes more problems than it solves. Does it solve any problems?
No.
Okay, it fails to solve any problems, but it causes many problems.
It pretends to solve some problems,
Okay.
but I believe those problems have been solved just by virtue of cooperative societies figuring out how to coexist.
So I'm hearing that religion takes credit for solving problems that are solved outside of religion.
That's right.
Okay. So what kind of problems does religion cause?
Religion causes people to believe in otherism and gives a basis for people to discriminate against others. And this discrimination ultimately can lead to death, but even when it's not as extreme as that, it just leads to more problems than it solves. And I believe it's given a free pass by a lot of the civilized world even, which is very surprising to me. And it has always confused me why people bend over backwards to accommodate beliefs that are contrary to what a cooperative society needs, or give religious entities tax breaks that they don't deserve or need, or use religion as a shield for siphoning money from the deserving to line the pockets of those who have plenty. And it also is used to force arbitrary structures in people's lives, and many times these are very damaging to growth and to fulfillment and to happiness. And for all these reasons, I quite detest religion, and I just wonder why more people don't see through it.
So that was a lot. That was a lot of good things.
Thank you.
I hear that for you it's difficult to understand why or how it is that people don't see it the way you see it.
Well, so if you look at history, we ascribe to God that which we could not explain.
Right. Yeah.
So
lightning must be Thor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we had weather phenomena, geographical oddities, and these are God's creations. We give credit to God for this wondrous sunrise. And as we understood the rotation of the earth, God was removed from it or was moved to a higher level. Well, if we understand how the rotation of the earth leads to sunrise, well, who causes the earth to rotate? And if we understand, what is it called? The attraction of masses and therefore the planetary motions, then who created the planets? And you go beyond that, who created the Milky Way? Who created the galaxy, the universe?
Even Newton added a thing, and I don't know why, but God takes care of the part I don't understand.
That's right.
In Principia.
So, God is a very healthy catch-all to help us assuage our fears. But when we are no longer afraid of something, we should not be afraid to also remove God from the equation. And when it comes to human interaction and the suffering caused by one human being on another, in the name of God, we should not be afraid to step in and say, no, God has nothing to do with it. This is just you being greedy.
So it's a fear, maybe.
I think religion is fear-based.
People make the choice to...
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to call God of the gaps, I think is what you're describing.
God of the gaps,
that our fear causes us to put God in that gap, because I think we are afraid not to have confidence, not to have
the origin was fear-based, but I believe then man takes it a step further and uses God to justify inhumanity, or greed, or a negative, if you will. And once you have either legal or religious justification, you can proceed with things that you otherwise could not proceed with.
Right. Yes.
So I think religion's usurped for that many times and exploited, and it's just not necessary. I don't understand. Today we have technology, we have means of distribution, and we have means of dissemination of knowledge. So for people to do things that are clearly illogical or ludicrous doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand televangelism. I don't understand snake worship. I don't understand stoning of people, or killing, really. But as I said, killing happens in war, perhaps, or extreme cases. But there's a lot that happens long before the killing starts that also is just not. Meaning
a lot of bad that's not.
It's just it's not justifiable in today's society. So I don't understand why people don't take action. They might say things. There's a lot written about this. There's a lot of discussion, but when it comes to action, they step back and let the religious leaders still lead us astray, if you will. And the other day I was reading about a Jehovah's Witness case where a young woman is suing the Jehovah's Witness, and the previous similar cases like this have resulted in the Supreme Court stepping back and saying it's the purview of the church. And these Jehovah's Witness elders forced her to listen to a recording of her own rape when she was young. And she begged them to stop. They would not, and they subjected her to this torture. And this is now resulted in a case that's gone all the way to the Utah Supreme Court, I believe. And
I'm glad it's getting some sunlight shown on it.
We hope it will result in the court actually taking a stance. I hope. I don't know.
I hope so.
And of course, the lawyers for the young lady hope so too.
Of course.
But courts are quite adamant about their rights and privileges as well. And the churches are quite adamant.
Yes,
and
I'm going to say the courts are, but I'm okay with that.
Well, as long as justice is indeed just, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, in general. So on the claim that that religion causes more harm than good, this would be, I am completely convinced, and here would be, I barely think so. Where would you find yourself on this confidence scale?
100%, it's a crock of shit.
100% it's a crock of shit. Is there a sliver of doubt in there?
In the sense that religion can, not a sliver of doubt, but a sliver of hope, perhaps, in that some people use religion to do good things, and to the extent that they need that, fine, do good things. And if you need religion to justify your acts, by all means, so it can be a vehicle for good, but the Ten Commandments can easily be reflected in the laws of society and in common sense and in moral justice. So we don't need the Ten Commandments, but if you need the Ten Commandments to actually not steal or kill, then fine. Anything, any method, any mechanism by which you can be a decent member of society works for me. And if you need religion for that, great. So to that extent,
I think that falls into the category of things they claim that they've solved, that society also has perfectly good means to solve. But I do want to give credit for if they've inculcated somebody with the Ten Commandments and that keeps them from killing, stealing, murdering, whatever all those things are. I could recite them, but that's not important. That we want to laud them for doing the right thing, but we'd really prefer they not carry all that baggage. That's what I'm hearing.
Indeed. And,
okay. So hypothetically, you're already at 100, but maybe there's a sliver in there. Hypothetically, what could increase your confidence that you're correct? What kind of thing that you don't know today, you could learn this tomorrow, that would make you more sure? Or if you can't be more sure because you're already 100,
more sure. Oh, I see. So
what might be more convincing information? What kind of data would move you?
A society without religion also functioning successfully.
Okay, so
the absence of religion would show
society in the absence of religion, and it was successful and not falling into these same problems. That would increase your confidence. I like that hypothetical. That's very good. How about the other one? I was going to ask that. What could reduce your confidence? in your claim? What could slip you down to 90% or something? What kind of things could you see?
If I saw that society was a free, everybody for themselves, and those espousing religious values were the only ones holding back mayhem and chaos and anarchy, then I would say, yeah, there's some value to it. And
Nice.
there's a book called The Happiness Hypothesis, I believe. In it, the author says that people who are religious tend to live longer. And I didn't really look at the data that supports that, but I would take his word for it. And to that extent, perhaps it releases endorphins in our brain and reduces cortisol levels, whatever it does to increase our lives. If increasing time on earth is one of our goals, then I suppose religion is good for that, if it's true.
If that were the case, yeah.
Yeah.
And right now, I assume that you don't have any data to think so.
I don't know, because I don't know that the planet can support a larger population. So
Right.
We are programmed.
At some point, we're
answer-
definitely approaching
yeah.
the limit, and maybe
Yes.
we're past the sustainable limit.
Quite possibly, we're going to blow up the planet just by virtue of living.
Yeah.
I mean, so from that viewpoint, if you think of the whole planet as one system, then it's not a good thing to have things go out of whack. Everything needs to exist in a balanced ecosystem, and there must be a number for human beings, and we can change production of various life-sustaining things to change that number somewhat, but there has to be a limit, I believe.
Yeah. Just to brag, by the way, we are operating all electric today, and these batteries were all charged while I was running on solar power on my boat.
That's just great. That's just great.
That just happens to be, but yeah, we're with you on that.
Not to be a wet blanket, but there's a lot of data about how harmful it is to mine the minerals that
To
are
make
used
the solar panels?
to make the batteries.
To make the batteries, yes.
Yeah, the lithium, I think, and so on.
Yes. Okay, so somebody asked from the crowd, if more people agreed with you, what would change in the world?
I think a lot of the abuses and excesses of the churches would go away. And by churches, I mean places of worship for all religions, the organizations behind all religions, not just Christianity, which I think is relatively benevolent compared to some others. But, whether it's Buddhist monks trying to kill off the Rohingya, or Muslims and the ISIS fanatics in the Middle East, I think their religious justifications will go away, and hopefully society will calm down a little bit.
Yeah. Yes. Last question before I invite the reverse. Is there any question that you think I should have or could have asked that would help illuminate your position?
Not a question you could have asked, but you could have presented data that contradicts my assertions.
I could.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
And that would go against Street Epistemology.
Okay.
That's one of the rules
Sure.
of this method, is that I'm not supposed to bring data that you don't bring, because this is not about changing your mind from what I bring. If you change your mind, it's going to be your own fault, because you brought the data, you laid it out on the table, and you said, my confidence is not in proportion to my data, and so I must adjust my confidence or look for more data or something.
Sure. If you have not really, I'm not saying that I've thought this through 100%, but I think you can change your mind easily if a slight examination of your beliefs leads to contradictions that you've not addressed. So I haven't found any contradictions, and I've been thinking about this for a long time. So I don't know that you could have done anything to change my mind without presenting data to the contrary.
Very good.
I believe in science and logic and all that. So certainly, if you have data to prove that religion leads to peace and religion leads to harmony and a better standard of living, if you will, then I'd love to see that data.
I have only one data point that religion leads to peace, and that's somebody who is a Jain. Do you know of the Jains?
Of course, yeah.
I'm
from India. So
yeah, of course. That's Hemant Mehta, who is a YouTuber called The Friendly Atheist. And he was a Jain and still is a vegetarian. And still
I was going to say very militantly vegetarian.
You almost have to be. You don't really have to leave Jain to be an atheist. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there's I believe it's the Jains. There's a belief in there where they give up all their worldly goods, including their clothes.
Oh wow!
And then they embark on a life of asceticism. You know, with just a pot that they can use to beg for food and water with. And I've seen 2 or 3 of these people in India, completely naked, walking the streets, and you know, they're respected and given their space. You know, you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
very much,
right?
Yeah.
And
I see it in a pyramid, and I read it from the bottom up.
Right, and at the very top is transcendentalism, and,
yes.
and they must have transcended to some place where they don't need clothes, they don't need or worldly trappings, if you will.
Okay.
And you know, you wonder about that. So there's also minimalism.
Yeah.
I like minimalism, but minimalism can be expensive, and you know, it's not.
That's
not
irony.
Yeah,
minimalism can be expensive. Wait, what?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's really interesting. But what I'm saying is that it can be very pretentious, and it's not a way to transcendentalism. It's just a design movement, if you will. And it's very interesting to me to see these people. There's a monk who seems to only feed on sunlight. There's some people who don't need sleep. There's yogis who
I doubt the only live on sunlight.
Yeah,
I doubt that.
No, they have cameras on him. They have people around him, and he doesn't eat anything. Wow. And yet, you know, he's all skin and bones, but he's not dead. Interesting. And there are people in history I've read about who have been able to slow down their heartbeats. And so there's a lot we don't know.
Is there a benefit to that? To not eating?
Well, yeah. We
not running out of food, but I mean,
no, the benefit. So our lives typically are a journey of effort or minimizing effort to still sustain life, right? So we all want a house. We work really hard, and then you decide, do you really want to work for a house? Do you buy here, or do you buy here where it's cheaper? Yeah. And so in the old days with barter system, it was very easy. How far did you trek, or how hard did you fight for something to acquire it somehow? Yes. These days, we translate everything to money as a medium of exchange. Yep. But again, how much effort do you expend to earn money, and what is your earning power is a driving question for the majority of the world, right? And food costs money. Yes. Shelter costs money. All the basics and Maslow's hierarchy of needs cost money today. So you have to have that if you subscribe to that. And these people have escaped from that, right? And the whole reason for technology is to minimize effort to produce more, to minimize. I don't know about capital resource as well, but I suppose ultimately we translate everything to money. So
we can anyway. Yes, there are
I'm
other ways around, but it's effectively the same.
I'm talking about
trade, money.
I'm talking about trade and production.
Yeah.
So in commerce, everything that is the medium of exchange or measurement of value, right? So if you can produce a good cheaper in China, that's where you go and set up your factory. Yeah. So if you don't need to produce food, or if you don't need to acquire food, and still sustain the same life, it would be good. I mean, that's why really good. That's why we exercise. Well, it gives pleasure, of course, but also it's supposed to lead to a healthier life, less medical costs. Okay. We use cars and we don't have to walk 10 miles, which is it's strenuous, right? Yes. So it's all about minimizing effort, maximizing productivity or pleasure or utilities. Yes. Ultimately, it's some economics term is called utils, right? So yes, you can measure that in terms of pleasure or enhanced productivity. Whatever.
So during street epistemology, I'm very careful to not argue for an alternate position.
Sure.
But I also don't want to hide behind neutrality.
So yes, I was going to say that's the other thing.
At this point, I'm totally happy for you to ask me any questions, and I'll be clear and honest with you about my position.
So what is your take on my opinion about the uselessness of religion?
I'm 95%.
Oh, okay. Pretty much aligned with that.
I'm very much aligned, and And in this case, I'm not quite as convinced as you are, but who cares? Slight difference.
You're not quite as convinced as me about what?
About that religion. I think I could find some narrow, tiny examples where, in some contexts, religion might do more positive than negative. I might have to go to the Jains to make that happen, and I'm not really sure. And I think it's a contextual situation. I'm 95% that you are.
So
correct.
context is really important, and my context is somewhat unique. I went to a boarding school that was run by missionaries, the Christian missionaries in India. So I was brought up in a very Western environment with a lot of Christian values.
Yes.
And I'm from a Muslim background.
Okay.
And so I have deep respect for the work they did, but I also saw the fanaticism, and I saw the reliance on religion. So at a practical level, they might have done some good, but I wonder about the psychological long-term scars of religious indoctrination and the chanting and singing every Sunday and the almost, I don't know what you call it, but it was like cult-like, and so it's very hard to find to weigh one's benefits versus disadvantages. If they're on different planes, one is an immediate short-term benefit of programming a kid not to steal. That's great. But then there's the long-term disadvantage of fear of God's wrath and retribution on anything.
Huge.
And that really damages a lot of people.
It
so
does.
And it's hard to gauge.
It took me a long time. Yes, please.
Humans are very much about externalities and internalities.
No, free, absolutely free. Yes.
So we are concerned about that which affects us directly and completely oblivious to what's going on in some other corner of the world or some other person even near us, right? So it's very hard for humans to empathize with that which they're not experiencing themselves. And with religion, you have to think about the effects it is having on the person psychologically, as well as the immediate benefits it's possibly showing to an obvious man.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I grew up in a somewhat similar situation in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
In a fundamentalist Christian missionary school, Protestant, Southern Baptist. So my parents were staff.
How fundamentalist?
Highly racist. If you know Southern Baptist, you'll know that that's kind of on one extreme of the spectrum.
Yeah. Do you still talk to your parents?
My father's dead now, and I do not have contact with my mother on purpose. It's been probably about 5 years.
Is it because of this?
Maybe, though, if you were to ask, I would say it's because of kind of a narcissistic personality disorder that I think she has, and that leads to bad interaction pretty consistently over many years. And then I decided for my own mental health to minimize my contact with her. I would take her phone call. I wouldn't say, no, I'm not going to talk to you, but I'm not going to reach out. And
so there's that's an illustration of what I'm trying to say about, look at the harm this possibly religion colored this. And most people would say that, a son not talking to his mother or maintaining a relationship with her is a negative.
I would think so. Yeah. Right? I would think it'd be great. And I think were it not for her religious position, the other things could be fixed. But her religious position makes her extremely closed to new information and extremely resistant to learning that she is wrong about anything.
Right.
And I think that's
actually
the issue.
Yeah, that's actually a root problem with religion, is that it gives you an invisible omnipotent authority to make whatever claim you want. And I agree with you totally that I think this is an illustration of a net negative, even though you could have said as a young kid growing up, you had a good set of values that religion imbibed in you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
I did too.
Appreciate it. I invite you to take one of those three, please. Yes.
Okay.
It's an obvious bribe for you to come back for more conversations to get the other two if you wanted to. If you collected such things.
I'll go get a drink and maybe I'll think about it.
Absolutely. And we even have two other epistemologists here who are interested to interview you. So
I did
you don't even have to talk to me.
No, I enjoyed talking to you, but I did. You had something brought up. I think you had said that. I forget in the context, but it just reminded me of Trump and evangelical people's support of him, and what he espouses is so contrary to basic Christian tenets, and yet Christians laud him. Many so-called Christians, and that's a fake religion or fake wearing of religion on your sleeve. And I don't think it's religion at all. I think it's a dogma and it's ignorance masquerading as religion. So that really bothers me too.
I find Trump a real enigma in my mind because, so I'm reading a book, The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt. And in there, he shows data, it's not just his opinion, it's a lot of sociological data that conservatives hold these 6 values as important moral foundations: care, loyalty, liberty, authority, purity, and fairness. And I think that Trump does not belie. Right, Trump does not do the purity thing. He's a germaphobe, but that doesn't really count. The fairness, no, he thinks cheating is clever.
Yeah.
So fairness, he doesn't want anything to do with fairness. Caring for people, he doesn't want anything to do with that. How is it that people that are so clearly pigeonholable by holding these 6 things can follow him when he so clearly does not hold 3 of their important values? It's strange to me. It's almost as if a big chunk of his base have decided, no, liberals primarily care about fairness, care, and what was the other one? I guess authority. Those pretty much, like progressive liberals, those are their 3. And he seems to be absolutely opposite on those 3. So he is the anti-liberal, but not really a conservative. And yet the conservatives just snatch on him. I don't understand that.
I think partially their stance is anything but liberal. So they will go for whatever is opposing the Democratic ticket, no matter who it is.
Yeah. If it
I don't know.
that makes
every
sense.
time you try and understand them, there's something shows up that totally blows up your understanding, and it's just illogical. So you're trying to use logic to make sense of it, right?
I don't get it. I'm just really happy he's not in my leadership in 21.
They say it's ignorance, and then you find all these college-educated people voted for him. They say it's misogyny, then you find all these women voted for him.
Yeah.
They say it's white supremacy, and then all these black people have voted for him. So
I think if white women were the only ones voting, he'd still be in.
I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's wow. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Which one of you is next on the chair? This one.